Hey, welcome to Tech Face On. We are live on this Friday. Hope everyone's having a great day out there, and thanks for tuning in and watching and listening. As always, Mr. Richie Bello is sitting by my side. How you doing, Richie?
Great, Lee. Thanks a lot for having us.
Yeah, well, you have me, so thanks for having me. And today we have a special guest. We've had Paul from VinSight on a couple of times now, and it's been a really interesting conversation about this world that VinSight builds for you and your vehicle when you buy your vehicle. And it's a place that you can go. It's all about you. You get communications on a regular basis from the dealership without anyone having to lift a finger. And it's absolutely brilliant. It's pretty darn flawless. And now we're adding in the idea of AI in the form of IVIN. And I'm really excited about that. And I'm really excited to have VinSight's coach and CTO, Jeff Spring, on the show today. How you doing, Jeff?
Doing good. Thanks for having me, Lee. Good to see you,
yeah.
Richie.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as always, before we get rolling on the show, we're just going to run a quick video from our sponsor, Shop Smart Autos.
Look, you can keep telling your sales staff to make more calls day after day, but trying to sell more vehicles and retain customers with dirty data clogging your DMS and CDP, well, it's like trying to concentrate in a messy office. It's frustrating, chaotic, and let's be honest, a little embarrassing. But now with the SSA VIN retention report, you can clean up your DMS and CDP in no time. It's the ultimate tool to tidy up your data and pinpoint the customers you need to target. Reclaim those lost opportunities, win back the customers you thought were gone, and boost your sales with laser-sharp precision. The SSA VIN retention report helps you focus on the right customers at the right time with the right messages. Don't let dirty data hold you back. Clean it up, win them back, and drive success with the SSA VIN retention report from Shop Smart Autos. Inspect what you expect.
All right. So, Jeff, before we deep dive into IVIN here, why don't you just give us a little, or the audience, an understanding of your background and how you ended up with VinSight?
Yeah, sure. I started my career tackling really data-intensive problems. I did a criminal justice system that's used in about a fifth of the states. And that really gave me a taste for hard data problems. I consulted in the financial industry for a while. And then when I wanted to pivot towards my own consultancy and startups, I built a global team of talent and got into the world of finding and cultivating the team that I work with now. And in the startup world, I moved quickly into automotive. And that's because I have a really big interest in auto. I find cars at auction and buy them and repair them and sell them on my own just for fun. I love cars. So that's what brought me into the auto space. And my tech career meets with the auto interest with VinSight.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, you did mention the other day that you work on your own cars. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I've been doing that for a long time, and I've got a lot of kids, so it's a fun thing for me and the kids to do.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Pass it along. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So my broad stroke understanding of IVIN is it's this software based around AI that's pulling from all the data within a dealership and putting it in the palm of your hands so that if you have questions, that simple questions that people really don't want to have to call a dealership to ask, like, who was my salesperson? Or do I need an oil change yet? Or what kind of oil do I use? IVIN is going, or what kind of vehicles are in stock? Or IVIN is going to not only pull from the data within the dealership and give you very clear answers about your specific vehicle, but then it's also going to see intent, and it's going to put you in a position of, potentially making a service appointment or getting a call from a salesperson, and it's actually going to be pulling you back in to the dealership, and no one has to lift a finger to make this happen, right?
Right. This is the promise of agentic AI. The concept here is that we do know from the dealer's DMS all about the transaction and the customer. And because we know the vehicle they purchased, we gather all kinds of information specific to that vehicle. And we're putting that into IVIN so that IVIN knows exactly how to respond to your vehicle questions. But IVIN's a representative of the dealership. So it knows all about the dealership, who works at the dealership, how to contact them. It knows all about their service specials and what services they offer, and can weave that into conversation and can respond when you are questioning about a certain portion of your car or maybe part of your warranty. It can respond with advice on, hey, there's a special on that particular service right now, incentivizing people to take that next action. And you're right when you say, what is that action? It's scheduling service. It's making the F&I department aware that somebody is investigating the expiration of their warranty.
Right.
And it's making the dealership aware that somebody is interested in trading their vehicle. But those are things that are important for the dealer to know, and we send those signals to the dealer. But it's also important to provide a lot of value to that customer, and that's why we know exactly everything about their car. We pass the AI all the information about their owner's manual and any other printed supplement that comes with the vehicle. So that customer now has a reason to come in and converse with IVIN, just to even pair their phone when the car is new to them, or figure out how to turn off their parking sensors, or adjust lane departure warning. That stuff's going to be that's going to be at their fingertips in IVIN, right alongside the dealership information. So it becomes an actual value exchange where the dealership is providing value to the customer. That's why they want to stick around. And then in the meantime, we're evaluating that customer's position in their ownership journey and understanding what could help them most right now.
Yeah. And it's from what I'm understanding, it's such a revolutionary thought process, and it's so helpful to the end user that even Google backed it and helped fund the projects, right?
Yeah, we've got a Google grant that we're happy to have, and we are also participating with Google partners. We're attending Google Next, which is their AI conference. And most excitingly, though, is that Google worked with Volkswagen on retention a couple of years ago and experimented by giving owner's manual data to an AI-powered chatbot and putting it in the hands of customers. And it increased customer retention and customer satisfaction scores. And it's because it provided that next level of experience that people are looking for. I think often what happens is traditional marketing methods follow the user around and attempt to gather their attention. Right. This method is far more immersive and two-way, where it's informed of what the owner needs to know about throughout their ownership journey, and it will reach out and gather information and give it to the user at the right time so that they can make the right decision.
Awesome. Richie, I mean, I haven't seen anything like it.
Well, I really call this product one of the best products I have seen, and because it has a lot of different facets. So let's address the current situation now, okay? The stores that averaging 3.1 or 3.5 in review, if you look at them, why is it 3.5? So take the ones and the twos reviews, right? Rated 1 and 2, and look at them. They did not feel they got the right answer. They felt like they got bullshit. Okay, so this is what's happening with SEO. It's the asking the question. It was always like that. Years ago, when you did a PowerPoint, your last slide was Q&A.
Right.
Okay. This is starting with that. So I just bought a car. Something's not working in the car. I start with the chat. Oh, Now I get, before even I gave you a review, now I had a pleasant experience with the dealership. That CSI comes into my house. Now I say, wow, I can't even believe this. So that's one value. Okay. So let's talk about why that's important for the OEM side, because that has to do with your allocation and your travel rate. So IVIN does that. Let's talk about that. The other thing IVIN does, I mean, direct mail is great, guys. All the email marketing, all that's great. IVIN starts with you after the sale. IVIN is like your coach, that I could see it. After you purchase the car, that you have an assistant here 24/7. Uh-oh. Wait a minute now. Relationship building, customer with the dealership. Now let's take another step back a minute and let's take a look at this. Revenue relationship from the customer to the dealership.
Yep.
Basically, what's that saying? You know, I'm not going to say kill one bird with 5 stones or something. What is that?
Kill two birds with one chicken pot pie.
Right, something like that, right? So anyway, now we addressed the reviews, okay? We address your retention, a good experience. When somebody walks in and has a good experience with you, game's over. Okay? So that was one thing. Now, I start a relationship with this chat, right? Working it where I have a problem with the car, I go to that. That's probably a funnel for me to get an appointment. So the direct mail piece and all that, that's going to start. Well, wait a minute. This is like building a relationship from day one.
Right.
From the first day that I buy the car till I follow and exit out of it.
Right.
So now we've addressed that too. Now, let
me key in on one part of that, Richie. Oh. It's that, let's imagine that you're cultivating that relationship from the start once they've purchased the vehicle.
Right.
You're going to be in a position 36 months on when their warranty is expiring and they need to make a decision. And making that decision requires research. They're going to want to know, what do extended warranty contracts cost? And part of their option is to trade their vehicle in. And that might be the easier option because they get a brand new warranty with that new vehicle. So it's a 50-50 shot. They might trade, they might get an extended warranty. But the minute they need to do that research, we're going to give them a push message and say, hey, your expiration date's coming up. This is something that you might need to consider. And after having built a trusted relationship, they can ask IVIN for information about warranty, about information about inventory that they may want to purchase at the dealership, or information about the value of their car and the equity they have in it. And once they've performed about 80% of their research, then they're confident and they're ready to talk to a live person. But who gave them that confidence? Your dealership did, because they've gotten their research done within IVIN. They understand their picture. They know that that data is their data. It's about them. It's not something they could have looked up on Google. It helped them do their research before they came in the door, and it guided them in the door at the right time.
And let me answer that for a minute. You know, when you travel, let's say, Jeff, that you text me and tell me, hey, Richie, I'm traveling to Texas. I respond back, safe travels. The word safe travels. Safety issues. A guy like Lee that's got small kids, something's not working in the car that has to do with safety. He's going to go in there, bing, bing, bing.
Or even how to install a car seat.
Right. Now, that safety issue is important. Okay. Some cars have a longer wheelbase than others. All right. And that's a safety point. The reason it has a longer wheelbase than others, when the curves you go like that, you have no risk. Okay. At the curve, longer wheelbase. Right. And you know about cars. That's why I'm mentioning that. That's a safety.
Well, and they're packed with safety systems that are electronic now and require some amount of learning to understand how to configure and use correctly.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
So now with this IVIN, now when there's a safety issue, the customer feels, secure. Security is a big thing for a lot of people. Okay. Why is security a big thing? That's why we make investments for tomorrow, for the future of our retirement, right? And for the future of our kids. So security is important. So now you have some security with your customers. That equals higher retention, because now the customer feels confident in you as the dealer because of IVIN.
Right.
Right.
IVIN is there.
Because
IVIN's there to represent you. IVIN will represent you when the customer doesn't want to contact the dealer yet. IVIN is there to represent you in conversation by giving the fastest answers and most personalized answers about your vehicle ownership experience.
And I'm glad you said that, because the virtual assistants today are key. Well, now the chat assistants are key. All these things are key. Assist. It's all about assist, right?
Yeah.
And it's all about asking a question to get an answer, right? So we're looking at things. There was something called informational selling. Okay. 15 years ago, you had people that did informational selling. Then you had others that did knowledge selling. Okay. Today is called answer selling. That's what it's called today. You have it together and it's more than just that, because it's your CSI, your retention, because happy customers, happy life, right? Happy wife, happy life, right? So happy customer, you're always going to have that customer. Not only are you going to have that customer based on the reviews, that customer is going to go. He just bought a car. The next morning, it's Saturday. Him and his neighbor have bagels traditionally. Watch, bagel traditionally on Saturday morning with coffee. Now they're drinking coffee. I can't believe I bought this car. And you know what? I couldn't figure out how to put the baby seat on it. And with this thing they gave me, it guided me right through it. Oh, now that's referrals.
Right.
No, so it's a whole different thing when you are in the car business. As short term as I've been in it, I see a whole different thing. Okay.
Richie, I want to compliment what you're saying by talking about proactivity. So the promise of artificial intelligence and an assistant with you in your pocket is that there's some element that doesn't require you to think of the question.
Right.
That's the value. That's the promise here. It's that artificial intelligence has looked at the data points and understands what information is relevant to you as a customer right now. And I'm going to give you just an example that is the simplest example I could possibly give you. You're moving through your ownership journey, and the manufacturer recommends that you do certain services to your car. So what IVIN does is just understands where you're at in that journey and talks to you about that at the right time, so that you're maintaining your vehicle like you're maintaining an investment. You want to know when you should be doing this stuff and what you should be doing. You just don't want to have to pay attention to the details,
Right.
because you have a lot of other stuff in your life.
And
So
there's something to make very clear here too, because we passed over it very briefly. And the owners and management should understand this. It's not just about, oh, what's going on my app today? Oh, I think I might need something. Let me search IVIN. It's push notifications, which is a huge thing, because I do know, because I see it around me all the time. My kids, adults, all around me. You get a push notification, the first thing you do, your attention is on that. What is it? Who is it from? What is it saying? And that's a major game changer, rather than just getting a text or getting a email. To get that push notification is tremendous. And I'd like you guys to maybe talk a little more on that, because I think that's a major, and it's timely, and it makes sense for you specifically, right?
It does. Let's talk about push. There's a reason why push is so effective psychologically. It's because you control it. Everyone knows how to control the push notifications on their phone, because you have to know, because you can't be overwhelmed with a bunch of garbage. But the way IVIN works is it finds this trusted place on your phone where you know that you're going to fight anticipatory anxiety. You're keeping it on your phone because you fear bleeding before the cut. You don't want to be without information when you need it, and you can't remember every detail about a vehicle. So one thing that push notifications does for us is it gives us this private place where the customer controls how the messaging is going to happen. And we don't junk up our messaging just with offer after offer after offer. This is an intelligent experience where we're messaging when we have useful information that the customer can take action on.
Right.
And those two parts of the strategy, the fact that they have control when and where they receive the message, and that we have a strategy where we make the messages useful and actionable, that kind of changes the game of that communication. And instead of us following them around the internet trying to get their attention, we're providing value and doing it briefly and just at the right time.
Right. Yeah, Rich, like the push notification situation, not something, it's pretty different thought process, right? Getting push notifications that are timely and targeted and understood about it's
Well, I gotta say something about that. What I like about it is the OEMs have been doing that, OnStar, etc., been doing that for quite some time.
Right.
Now the dealer has the ability to do the push notification and communicate with his customers, all right, and find out how his customers are. Everything starts with a conversation, right? If somebody told me that a long time ago in Houston when I was younger and I worked there, his name was Charlie Thomas. He says, Richie Bello, I was 25 or 26. You have to start having conversations, because everything starts with a conversation. If you don't have a conversation with somebody else, so then I started going to service and seeing all those service customers that walked in, whether they needed a car, it didn't matter to me. He just wanted me to have conversations with everybody. Okay. So, we all know I talk a lot, right? So
you know what you're making me think, Richie, is what starts a conversation? Some kind of conversation starter. Right. So what we do is we push notify the customer, and when they tap on that push notification, it goes directly in conversation.
Right, and that's
with IVIN.
And that's exactly, you're staying in touch with your customers by push notification, and therefore the customer is seeing something out of that. Because let's not forget something. Right. If you're just push notifying people to blow them up, right, that's a different. But these people have used that because everybody, when they buy a car, have a problem.
Right.
Everybody does. So by them being like that, now you have a reason, now this whole thing started with, now you're push notifying to them, and they see value in that, because you know what? When I got the car, I needed help with my baby seat.
Right.
Okay. When the check engine went on, something happened. You know what I mean? So that's what happened with the push notification, right?
Yeah.
And that's a very important piece of technology for the automotive sector, because it does work.
I want to give you a little bit of piece of the future on that. So with connected car, we have information coming from the onboard computer. I'm not saying we have that right now. I'm saying the industry has information inside the car that's useful, trouble codes, what's going on in that car. The next phase for IVIN is to gather that data so that we can proactively understand if there's a problem with the car, tell the user what kind of problem they're dealing with, and guide them into the service bay.
Wow.
So proactivity is what this is all about. We're trying to gather data, sure, from owner's manuals so we can answer questions like how to install your car seat. But we're trying to gather data from more useful sources like recalls. Are there recalls that are applicable or that you need to know about as a consumer? Information about your warranty coverage and options there. Information about the value of your car today if you choose to trade it or sell it. Information about the information about the market itself. We're trying to give you the next steps and make that information available to you in your pocket privately.
Yeah, absolutely. And like recalls, I mean, no matter how many times I get a mailer on a recall, yeah, I save it. But I'm looking at it 8 months later going, I got to do that recall. But if I got a push notification and I tapped on it and it said make an appointment, good shot. It
could be done. You can check it off your list.
Yeah.
And let me tell you about making an appointment with IVIN. IVIN's personalized to the consumer. So we've got information from the dealer's DMS. We know who this person is and where they live, what their address is, their email address, and their phone number, how to contact them, and that kind of thing. So we only need to ask a few questions to get an appointment scheduled.
Right.
We want to know what's going on with the car. We want to know, do you need transportation assistance? And we want to know the mileage of the vehicle, the current mileage of the vehicle.
Right.
Lastly, we want to know when you want to schedule the appointment. What's good for you? Next week? Sounds good. You want to do it conversationally? How about next Friday morning? We can take that comment from a person and we know what day it is and when next Friday is. And we can start to reach into the dealer's DMS to understand what's available and what's not and have the conversation for you. For you as the dealer, we'll have that conversation, just the nit and nat of when is a good time for somebody to come in. And doing that privately from your desk in an AI-powered chat is way better than having to call the dealership to interrupt anybody. And you're gonna take action on that kind of stuff faster if you have that facility.
Yeah.
And the other thing, as my friend Larry Feldman, that's a great recruiter in the automotive sector, would say, what this does to help the trainers and to help the workforce, it's unbelievable. Okay.
Yeah.
He's one of the best recruiters out in this industry, Larry Feldman, an amazing recruiter. He would say that to me right away. What this does for staffing and what this does for training is a game changer. Okay, that's the other thing. That's why yesterday when we were on a demo, I asked, do we have a dashboard? Because that analytics, that helps you create a better staff.
You bet.
Sure. That helps you create a better staff and a better workforce. And it's like all around. So there's a lot of different ways a vendor in the automotive space would look at this.
You bet.
And there's a lot of different ways a dealership will look at this. It just has to be pointed out to it. This is tremendous. This is more than a game changer.
Let me point out an area here. Of course, VinSight's focus is to drive more revenue to the dealership post-sale. So all those opportunities that are happening throughout the ownership period, we're there to capitalize on that post-sale revenue. Okay, that's the main point. You have to get that. But you're right, Richie. VinSight can relieve some of the pressure on your F&I department for sure. Right. If your customers want to ask questions about what happened in the F&I office and what happened with their transaction and when is their first payment and what was their interest rate and did they buy rust protection and what did tire and wheel cost them, right? These are all things that they have to call up and take the time of the F&I guys to answer. And I think everybody knows there's a lot of time spent with that. So when it comes to the sales side of it, it's training on the vehicle. I think people reach out and take the time of the sales agents to train themselves on the vehicle. When it comes to the transaction side of it, they reach out to the F&I department and almost overwhelm them. So if we can take some of that load off of your people, that's an intangible benefit here.
Well, there's a lot of revenue streams in a dealership, right? Let's address something. You have a company, right? Your expenses up here because that's the cost of doing business. I bring something in that lowers my expense by 25 or 30%. I automatically made 25 to 30% right to my net profit.
Right.
Okay. The industry, as we know it, is $1 billion industry in training. $1 billion. Because we're not retaining people. It's a revolving door. So it's $1 billion. So IVIN brings in money automatically because of the training perspective.
It standardizes the retention process in a way.
Right.
It formalizes a little bit of it.
Right.
And the interesting thing is it's automated. So that's what the promise of artificial intelligence is for the automotive consumer, is that it's an automated method of interacting with the dealership. For the dealership, though, that's also a benefit because they actually can't cultivate the skills fast enough to make sure their workforce is maximally prepared to pull in all of their existing customers back into the dealership.
Right.
That's where when IVIN comes in after the sale, in an automated way, it can interact with the customer over time to make sure that the dealership is top of mind. And, it's important to note that one thing that we're doing that's exciting right now is working with one of the top automotive CRMs to figure out how we can insert all of this intelligence directly into the CRM, because I know that a lot of dealerships want the full record of interaction between any tool that they're using and their customer to be represented in the CRM. So anyway, it's really cool to see that, because a full picture is better than no picture. But what's actually the best to see is that you don't have to come up with a strategy yourself. As a dealership, you don't have to learn what's best for your customers or come up in your own internal meetings with what are our best approaches, or rely on a marketing company whose approach you don't maybe have faith in anymore. What we're doing is we're taking an aggregated approach and saying, what is the best way to engage users after the sale across multiple clients? Right. So the ideas we get and how we learn from those interactions, which are successful, which are necessary, which are unnecessary, that's knowledge that our customers can get without having to have done all that work themselves. It's an automated canned retention program full of touch points that can appear in your CRM and keep your staff informed about the trajectory of that customer.
It's really, all I got to say is IVIN is an amazing product. Every dealership in the country should be using IVIN. At Shop Smart Autos and at White Dog Bird, we give IVIN a A+++, because it's making the communication process so much greater between the customer and the dealer. And that's what the one thing I get out of it.
Yeah. And, what blows besides all the wow factor of the technology, when you look at the SSA VIN retention report from Shop Smart Autos, and we've been reviewing these for quite some time now, dealerships are losing anywhere from 50 to hundreds of customers a month. And if you pump up your communication effort and you target these people properly and you keep them in the loop and you keep them feeling like you have the knowledge, you're answering when they want an answer, and you only retained 2 customers or 3 customers a year out of the hundreds of customers that you're losing, it would more than pay for VinSight for the entire year.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous not to try it, because you're probably going to retain hundreds of customers because of it.
Right.
But if you only retain 3, VinSight's paid for.
Right.
And, that's just unbelievable to me.
I know there's so much money left on the table, and there's so much money that, I think what's happening is a transition in the marketing space right now. You have these older methods whether, web, display, text, email, traditional methods, right? That Google's been making a lot of money on for a long time. And we're gonna happily transition to something that I think is much more a value exchange. And by changing to that method, that way of thinking, I think we can really capture those customers and keep them as customers, lifetime customers, so that they don't just believe you have the best advertising program, they believe you have the best customer experience.
All right. Well, there's a banner at the bottom of the screen, and just because the spelling of VinSite's a little different, VINSYT.com. They're also, you call up, you make an appointment, you're going to get to look at your retention status with the SSA VIN retention report. And if Richie's given it an A+, from what I see, I give it an A+. I can't even imagine dealerships not wanting to house VinSite and IVIN within their dealerships. We're very thankful, Jeff, for you for being with us today, and we'd definitely love to have you back in the future to even dig a little further and see where things are progressing.
Exactly. Thank you so much. I can't wait for it, actually. It's been a fun conversation. It always is. Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
I
Jeff.
appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. God bless.
Have a good one.